should we finish our Tessa story? Are you okay with that, Manuela? So if we just, because we're sort of nearly there. So Tessa still works with us. But one thing I'm ready to share with people is Tessa's experience of dying. Now, we all have it, I have a lot to do with terminal people and dying people and, NDE experiences and things like that. But I want to share with you the most incredible thing that has ever happened to me in my life, beyond anything else, is this horse allowed me to experience her dying from her point of view. And I just think it's something we can all learn from and understand from. And, if you're all comfortable with that, I'd love to share that with you before we continue on. You all okay with that? Okay. All right, cool. So on the day of Tessa leaving, so she had already told Ernst the night before, hey, bud, I'm going down to die under my tree. So, yeah, you got that for the morning? Yep, you're all good. Okay, cool. She's gone down to do that. They've come out in the morning. She's already shown Renata, this is where I'm going to go. So, so they get down there in the morning and she's prone. And so I linked in with her. And I immediately had this sensation in my hip, right? And it was like my hip joint was like aching. And I could hear her saying to me, yeah, I've got this, I'm going, but I can't concentrate on it because the pain in my hip is so like annoying. It's just overriding anything. When you've got like that searing pain and you can't concentrate on anything else because that's just, frustrating you. So it's like having a migraine and trying to, read a book or something. And so she's saying, get them to put something between my knees. So what happens with the horses is, their legs are like this, but when they're prone, it's held down like that. And so the pressure on the hip bone pulling out was quite severe. So, I sort of sent a message and said, look, she wants something between her knees. And I knew they didn't get to it because I could still feel that pain all the way through. But they've found it there. Then they've got to organize vets, and they've got you guys were just flat out trying to organize everything. And so I'm there with her, but she's sort of she's talking about, okay, I'm going, and they organized a circle, and all of the circle joined in their own homes and connected in with Tessa. And first incredible thing is that Tessa had a conversation with every person in that circle separately and at the same time as she was dying. Mind-blowing, right? And so she was doing that, and they said, look, we'll get the vet out, we'll give her the green machine, which is euthanasia. And she's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I can do this myself. And I mentioned that, but I'm not there, right? I'm not on the ground, and they can see the pain and how long she's been there and how desperate it is. And so she goes, no, I can do this, can do this. And so then she's there and she's going, okay, all right, yeah, I'm ready to go. Tell them to put their hands on my forehead, right? And give her Reiki, or put energy and light into her forehead. And I sent that message, and the vet had just arrived. They've got to get her down to the paddock, and they've got to do all these things. And so, no one's sort of there able to answer this. And then she's asking more and more. I need the hands on my forehead. Get them to put the hands on my forehead. And they're busy. And she's like, look, I don't want the green machine because I want to experience. I want to do this myself, but it's okay, whatever. But so then she's there, and then all of a sudden, I was sitting in the daylight out in my back garden on a chair and connected in, and then all of a sudden, I was in a dark hallway, right? So it wasn't dark, but it was sort of that browny light. When there's a hallway, it's got like a little bit of light, but not a lot of light. Sort of like if you close your eyes and you imagine a hallway, it's got an oval roof, and it went up, and there was sort of a big oval door at the end, almost like dirt And she's going, okay, I'm going to go. And next thing I feel myself going, and I can see through her eyes, and we're going up this hallway, and we come up to this door. And as we come up, I realize that it's not a door, it's a brown wall, and it's the inside of all the hairs on her forelock, on her, blaze. Yeah. And it didn't open. And so then I had this sensation of being pulled back, and the hallway went like this. And she's going, tell them to put their hands on my forehead. And I sort of sent the message, and by this time they're just full on, the vets, organizing her and stuff. So we tried this like 3 times, and we're getting up and we're falling back, and I'm sort of feeling desperate, because that's the sensation I'm getting. And then Tessa said to me, and the exact words, Tessa had different language for different days. Some days she spoke like a Victorian sort of, and these and thous and arts, and then other times she was like, fucking humans, It's like, whoa. And so she just always said something for every day. And then and she said, just like, saying, trying to put the bloody hands on my forehead. I'm like, yeah. And they're busy. And she says to me, oh, the vet's faffing around with my vitals. So it's a word that, I don't use, and I don't know if you use it in Austria, but it's like a weird word. Okay. And so then we took another run at this door, and it didn't open. She pulled back, and then suddenly she was gone. And I'm like sitting in the garden going, okay. So I don't know what's going on. And I'm sitting there for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden I just went whoosh, and it was this sensation of falling. And it was falling like, if you can imagine, those movies where, they're going down through dark water, and then there's the moonlight, on the surface of the thing, and the moonlight's getting smaller because you're falling back. So I fell down through this, what I call water, like 2 stories, this black water with the moonlight. And I'm just like, the sensation of falling. So it wasn't an awful feeling. It wasn't a painful feeling. It wasn't scary. It was just like, whoa, I check that out. And then all of a sudden it just went, and it was like one of those stages for a TV show where it's all white. When they do the comedy heaven shows, and God's just there on this big white screen. It was exactly that big white screen. And then all of a sudden I saw this black horse, this shiny, healthy black horse with a red tartan coat on it. And all I could hear was like, whoa, I did it. I made it. And that was Tessa. And I'm like, the feeling of elation was like, oh my God. And so then that was it, right? And they said, yeah, she's gone. I'm like, yep. And then we talked later, and I said, look, I saw a tartan coat on her, and Renata said that when she was there, she'd seen the tartan coat too. And Joanna, who was here in her room crying and joined in her circle, she's going, she had a coat on, it was tartan. I'm like, 3 of us saw the tartan coat. So we all separately found the right tartan that was on her, and I purposely sent a tartan to Renata that was not the right tartan. And Renata came back with exactly the picture that Joanna and I had swapped with each other. We'd both found exactly the same tartan photo of a girl in a tartan that Renata had found in Austria. It was exact same tartan, exact same picture. Go figure that one. It was the Rothschild tartan. And you had bought Tessa from the Rothschild. She was a Rothschild horse. Mm-hmm. And there she was in the afterlife in a Rothschild tartan coat. And that to me is like, and mic drop, like, wow. So that's the incredible story of this horse. And that is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life of being taken through. So not only how a horse would go naturally, so now I sort of understand that they go through their forelock, but how it felt from her side. She was no longer in pain. She was no longer in things. She's like, she's actually in there. and her body probably looked terrible with what was going on in the physical, but she wasn't aware of any of that. She was actually sitting there going, oh, I'm going, there it is, there it is, there it is, okay, you know, and exiting the body. And that's why I think that prayer when someone is dying, you know, helps to open up those portals, and you know, Reiki and all of these great healing tools are just amazing for people that are passing. But I got to experience personally that experience of how an animal leaves its body, or how we leave our body, or whatever. And I got to experience what we call the green machine. So, you know, so many of my clients are broken because they had to euthanize their dog, and they thought they did it too early. And is he up there angry at me? Am I going to be punished by God when I get there? And you know what? She had no thoughts on that, whatever. You know, she didn't get out there and go, I can't believe they used a green machine on me. How rude is that? You know, that's disgusting. I should go on my own time. She was just there going, poof. What a peaceful thought that brings to, you know, each of us, of like, you know, it's an incredible journey. And I just think that, you know, she is the greatest teacher of my life, and of many others. And she works with horses. She works with horses on the farm. She works with clients that go there. She works with everyone in that circle. She works with me to this day. I had a hypno client, a gentleman, and he was under hypno, and he said to me, my whole experience down there was this like a horse just like staring at me. So there was just this big black horse and its eyes staring at me the whole time I was under hypnosis. And, you know, to say the least, that was what was necessary in that treatment. And that was Tessa, you know, in my eyes, that was Tessa watching over what we were doing. And you know, I just find it beautifully incredible. So that's the story of Tessa, and that's the story of Renates Farm. And Renates Farm is now a working healing sanctuary that works with people and humans, and these horses do connect, and they do heal, and they are just everything that I imagined they would be when I was 3. And here we are. So, yeah. So let's get to some questions. Oh, have you, Renata and Ernst, why don't you sort of talk about your side of that journey, because you were both receiving visions from her too through that whole process.
I knew that she was going to die that morning. I witnessed also the herd, that they were all keeping company to her. And they were not only standing around her, but also they did also lay down. And well, the weather was not very inviting. It was raining. And so there you can see Tessa and the horses standing and laying beside her. I always hoped that she can die without a vet, do it by herself. But I knew that she was on the floor, on the ground already for at least a couple of hours. Time. She was always trying to get up again, but she couldn't. And I decided I don't want to watch this any longer. And that's why I called the vet, and I reached her immediately. I also thought that if it's difficult to get the vet, okay, then I will wait. But it was Sunday it was Saturday early morning. And so she took up the phone immediately and she came. And so then I said, okay, that was the right decision. I would have, to me, I would have preferred if she did it on her own, but it was as it was. And it was the best decision because I didn't want it to wait any longer.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And it was, it was a really, I don't know what's the right word for it. It was an overwhelming experience. On one side, it was to feel that she didn't want to be here anymore. She wanted to leave. and it was, I think, we had the chance to help her. Often with people, we do not have this chance, and they have to. For many people, it might be difficult to die, but you can't euthanize them as you can with animals. So that's I think it's a good tool, and I was glad we did this way. And I was aware when she was gone. It was immediately after the injection was set. She left, so it was not difficult. She didn't fight. It was difficult for the vet to find the blood vein, but that's another story.
Yeah, that must be the faffing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, she gave us the experience of seeing both ways. So that's the incredible blessing out of that. And it's you know, she was being gallant and saying, I want to do this myself, but you know, she was in incredible pain. She'd been there for a long time. Like the pain in the hip was just phenomenal. Like it was overbearing, even you know, with the plastic between us, it was overbearing. So you know,
and it was
did
because
right
she
thing.
always fell. Yeah, and it was from the standing up and falling down again and getting up, and it was at the end probably a 450 kilo horse. And when you always fall on your bones, it must have hurt incredibly.
And when I came down to the place where she was lying, after some minutes, it was completely present to me that it was necessary now go for the vet. And Renate remembers when I'm very strict in that what I experienced, and we did it immediately then.
Yep.
Because I got the message now, and don't.
Absolutely. I believe it was absolutely the right thing to do, and it was absolutely the right timing, because it allowed her to give that little insight into the journey and then the other journey and be out of pain. You know, it was a long journey for her to do those hours. And, you know, I just could not imagine the pain that she was in. And the pain that you guys are in, you know, watching her there and you know, wanting, you know, so much for her to let go, and she couldn't let go, and she couldn't get out on her own, you know. So I think it's a beautiful experience. And you know, so when she was saying, you know, I don't want the green machine, it's like, but you know, whatever, do you know what I mean? It's like she just wanted to try and get out there herself. So
thanks for listening. Anjii is available for clinical hypnotherapy specializing in PTSD, trauma release, and active living and regression therapy via Zoom. To book or find out more about online workshops, you can contact her at anjieb@gmail.com or visit her Facebook page and YouTube channel.